one of the webinar series, Gradlinc, A Day in the Life of. So this afternoon, we're very excited to invite Rita Liebenberg. She is a project manager at a biosphere reserve, one of the largest biosphere reserves in South Africa. And when I asked her how to describe a biosphere reserve for purposes of our audience, she said it's basically a living laboratory. So welcome, Rita. We are very excited to have you on our seminar this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me, and hi to everybody I can't see, which makes me less nervous. I'm very excited to be here. So thanks for having me, and to you and Gradlinc. Let's see if we can make some future project managers out of this.
Oh yeah, no, I think everyone's really excited about this particular webinar just because project management is such a growing field and industry at the moment. So we've got quite a few audience members today, and I'm sure the questions are going to be coming. For everyone who is in the audience, if you have any questions, please just drop them in the Q&A, and then I'll be able to see them and I'll show them on the screen. So let's just start at a point. Rita, what did you study to be where you are today?
Well, that's not such a straightforward question, but I started with BCom law, because both my parents were attorneys, so that's what you do. And I did 1 year. I went to court. I saw the madhouse. I immediately phoned both my parents and said, I'm out. Law is not for me. I can't live in this chaos. I'm going to be Indiana Jones and become an archaeologist. To which, obviously, my father was not impressed. But I did. I ended up studying BA Archaeology and Anthropology, which was amazing. I actually think all degrees should have anthropology as a standard subject because it really teaches you just to try and see things from different perspectives. So I did that at Tux, my BA undergrad, and then I moved over to UNISA and did my honors in archaeology, all the while still working at a law firm to earn money. So yeah, maybe my parents were right, because then I ended up after my honors going back to my LLB and finalizing that. So I studied BA and then an LLB and worked as an attorney and a conveyancer for about 11 years in the legal fraternity. And then went, you know what? Let's see what else is out there. And yes, now I'm here, 5 years into project management. So it's been an exciting journey.
Yeah, it definitely is. I love the comparison that you made to Indiana Jones, because I'm curious now, how do you feel about camping? Just, slightly off topic.
That's when I realized maybe archaeology isn't the best for me, because I don't know about the audience, but I always hated school camp, being forced to do things on a schedule and somebody else just screaming and shouting at you, and it's always bad food. And then realized archaeology is fantastic. It's very interesting, but it requires you to go do field work with a group of people you don't necessarily know for long periods of time. And yes, that wasn't fantastic. So Indiana Jones isn't all it's cracked up to be, and neither is Boston Legal. So, that's life.
I love those comparisons. Okay, so I have 1,000 questions for you, but I don't want to veer off topic and talk about, Boston Legal and Indiana Jones. So Rita, let's start at the point of this whole webinar series. You are a project manager for a biosphere reserve right now. Tell me a little bit about a day in the life of you.
Okay, so I think just to give some context so I am in an area of project management, so I'm in conservation, which is quite a specific area. So as the Biosphere Reserve, it's the Gradlinc Cluster Biosphere Reserve, and we're situated in the Western Cape, and we're the largest biosphere reserve in South Africa. So what I'm in charge of is most of our day-to-day operations for our funders. So what happens is we get funding, which has milestones and deliverables attached to that. And then obviously somebody has to make the dream work. And I have that lucky position with my wonderful team to do that. So just a little bit of context in that regard. But I actually got asked this question when I interviewed our current interns. They all wanted to know what's a day in the life of, and I went, you know what? It starts with coffee and it ends with coffee. That's pretty much the only constant. Every day is slightly different and exciting, and sometimes not so exciting. And that's what I love about project management. But I did think about this and I thought, you know, generally my day starts with a contractor phoning me before 7 o'clock in the morning, and I am not a morning person. So it's glad that I love them, because that's why I answer. So then, okay, so they phone me and it's generally about logistics. By 8, I'm at the office. I'm making my first cup of coffee, checking in with my interns and my team. And Mark is my assistant and field manager and hopefully future president. And we then plan the practicalities and the logistics of the day and what we need to do. Then I have the first cup of coffee, check my emails, read 5 important things happening in South Africa today. It's a nice little website to just keep me relevant. And then if I'm very unlucky, I'll have a meeting before 9. I try and avoid that by all things possible, because you shouldn't have meetings before your second cup of coffee. It's just not really okay. So if I do have meetings, it's generally with various stakeholders, and that can really be anybody, from somebody in the community wanting to come see us, to a landowner, to the municipality, to businesses. So it could be a variety of meetings. And then we tend to I work on numerous projects at the same time. So I will do different functions throughout the day. It'll range from doing invoicing and procurement, to reporting to funders, presenting or representing the organization at events. I will be doing GIS mapping for our field teams. I will be speaking to funders, working on proposals with our sustainability manager to get some more moolah, because moolah makes the world go round. And, you know, it's really, my best is when I get to go to field and actually work with the teams in field, and you can get a bit out of the office, get a tan. You know, so it's really a variety of things, from contracting with landowners, meeting prospective partners. It's always different, which is what I like about it. There is obviously a framework and a guideline and things that you must do, but it's not mundane, boring every day. So that's what I really, really like about it. But the job requires me to switch quite drastically from different contexts. You know, 1 minute I'll be in an executive high-level meeting and discussion with prospective funders and big corporates, and the next minute I'll have to put on my work boots and go move a chipper in field. You know, so it's fun.
How do you switch hats efficiently or smoothly when you have to go from one task to another so dramatically?
I think for me, I find it quite easy in the respect of, you know, you don't learn everything at university or when you do a qualification, but one thing that having a qualification does help with is giving you a way of thinking and structuring, and being able to know when to compartmentalize and when to add on top of each other. So I love being like a spider in the web that sees all the different connections, and I can pull things together. For me, that's really exciting. But yeah, I think it just comes with experience, and you just have to keep working at it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Speaking of spiders and webs, it's very interesting for me to note that you went from archaeology, where you didn't particularly enjoy fieldwork, to now project management in a conservation where fieldwork is a requirement and you actually enjoy it. So would you say that it's because it's less structured, or is it just like, how is it different that you enjoy it now?
For me, what I enjoy, I love being outdoors and being active and physical. I think that's why being an attorney I lost that a little bit, you know, there wasn't that concrete satisfaction. But I like that it's not like a camp regulatory thing. It's not you staying out in field for weeks or days on end. It's you go for a purpose, you achieve your purpose, you leave.
Nice. Yeah, no camping.
No camping.
All right, so we have a question from the audience. I'm just going to pull it up and then I will read it to you. So Lizanne would like to know, what are the best and the worst parts about project management? It's a nice wide question for you there.
I'll go with best first. What I enjoy the most from project management is where you take something that seems overly complicated in the beginning. It seems almost impossible. You know, there's how are we going to make this thing work? And deconstructing it and reworking it so that it becomes a practical, implementable action plan. So, you know, taking something from where it feels insurmountable, like, you know, when you enroll for your first year and you see your 10 subjects and you go, how am I ever? And then by month 3, you know what time to be at class, you know what time you need to do this, when your assignments are, you know, so it's breaking it down and reformulating it for me. I love it, especially if it comes together properly.
Of course.
Yeah. The worst part is, and I must be careful. No, so the worst part for me is, you know, meetings, to be honest. I was not very used to meetings before I joined the project management field. And meetings for constructive purposes, by all means, I know they're necessary. But meetings for meeting's sake, I can't spend hours in a meeting where everybody's saying pretty much the same thing and nothing gets resolved. I can't stand that type of inefficiency. So
I'm sure also with your legal background, that's also it must be a challenge in your new career.
Time is money.
No, absolutely. I can imagine that. What kind of sorry, let me just pull this off the screen. I really do appreciate your honesty with regard to meetings. There's that meme that goes around. I'm sure you've seen it, that this could have been an email. So that's essentially what it is. But I mean, that is part and parcel of being a project manager. What kind of skills have you transferred from your legal career into project management?
So it's quite interesting. When I first took this position, our funder asked me, because they were a little bit confused, what is an attorney doing out here? Project management and conservation. And he asked me, so why this? And my immediate response was problem solving. No one comes to see an attorney because they're having a good day, you know? Unfortunately, that's how it is. But because of that, you're always constantly having to solve a problem for someone. And project management is similar. Look, obviously, good planning can eliminate a lot of risks, but ultimately, that's life, and things happen, and you can't plan for everything. And what is the best plans always go awry or something like that. So problem solving for me has been a big help, because I think law really trains you to try and find middle ground. And because I wasn't a litigator, I wasn't paid to fight with people. So I was a conveyancer, and there you have to get the parties to meet, and you know, you need to make everybody feel like it was their idea and they walk away happy. And that's exactly in project management. You have to keep your team happy. You need to keep them focused. You need to make your stakeholders happy and keep them focused and not go off script with your project scope. You know, you need to be on top of everything, but you also need to have that flexibility and adaptability and be quick to try and find solutions. So it's definitely helped with that.
Okay. Do you think that you took the skills of do you think that you took the skills of flexibility from your legal career, or do you think this is something that you learned how to do in your project management career?
The flexibility from a people perspective, definitely from law, because you deal with a lot of different people. So you need to have your game face on and keep professional and try and get different personalities to work together. So from that perspective, from law, but adaptability in the sense of having to pivot, because law is also very structured in a way, especially conveyancing. It's got its set rules. You can do this or that, but you can't really go too much off script. So the adaptability in what I can do in this environment and in conservation is definitely something that I had to learn here. And I mean, I had to learn a lot on the job. This is one thing about project management is you're not the expert necessarily. You might be an expert in project management, but you are not the expert in the product or the service that the team is having to deliver to a client or a funder. So you might have people reporting to you that know far more about what the product is or the service, but that's not what you're there for. They're the specialist in their field. You're supposed to just make it run and work with them and iron out all the things. But so you're learning constantly from people in your team because they have a completely different skill set to you and a different knowledge base. So you have to be on your toes and be open to taking in information and making decisions based on that information.
Yeah, okay. So skills seem to be the hot topic on the Q&A section. Level asked, what skills do you think are most important in your job? But I do feel that you have actually responded to that particular question now. So let's just talk about qualifications when it comes to project management also. So somewhere in research, or someone must have made a comment to me along the way, someone told me that it's more beneficial for some people to have specific types of qualifications aside from, you know, the PMI course, if you want to be a project manager, and one of the key qualifications is engineering. Is that your experience, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so I will say on the skills thing, just a quick one with regards to that. Obviously, problem solving is one of them, but I honestly believe that soft skills is completely underrated in the working or in the study space, because it's not something you can learn from a textbook. But being able to communicate properly and to be understanding and open to learning, these are all things that can benefit anybody in any position. So soft skills, definitely. With regards to the qualifications, so when I went to go study, I mean, I didn't even know project management existed. You know, it was accountant, attorney, doctor, those types of things, marketing. So that's what there was. And then it was easier to get into project management because it's sort of like 15 years ago, being in IT, you could do it because you understood a computer. Now, you know, you need qualifications to do these jobs. They become more specialized. So what I've definitely found is it's a growing field, but there's more specialization occurring. So yes, construction project management is a growing field. So is IT project management, pharmaceutical project management. And more companies are seeking people to have project management experience and preferably a PMI certification, but definitely an additional qualification such as an engineering or architecture or informatics or computer science. You know, those are a thing. But I would definitely suggest to anybody who is looking to do anything in the future, whatever courses you're looking for, go Google your dream job. Go look for some vacancies for that position. I know you might not get it right now, but what are you working towards? And then go look at the requirements section. What are most companies looking for? What is the general things that keep standing out? And that might give you a little bit of a hint of, you know, what courses to take, maybe what software to get familiar with, you know, what skills are they looking for. So that might be a nice way for you to kind of determine what direction would be suitable for you in the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, your average candidate out there who's, you know, in university or just completing university, you know, looking for work. And this is something we hear a lot at Gradlinc is, oh, but I studied the thing. And I appreciate what you're saying, because in this, you know, environment that we all live in, and this, you know, especially in South Africa, but it's definitely not exclusively a South African thing, you've got to be multi-skilled. So when you are looking at the job description, yes, you might be studying finance, but then you could also do your PMI relating to finance or construction. And no, I think that's sound advice for all of our audience members. But I'm sort of caught up on the comment that you made, saying, you know, go look up your dream job. And I have to ask Rita, considering your career moving from BCom law to anthropology and archaeology, and then an LLB, and now in project management, what advice would you give your younger self?
I've had a lot of this discussion with friends of mine. So what would I tell younger me? I would tell her to not be bothered by what everybody else tells her to do. Just choose what you want to do. But having said that, I know 19-year-old me would have rolled her eyes and just been like, whatever, man. Like, you're old, you don't know what you're talking about. So fair. Maybe when you guys are 35, call me up, tell me if I was right. But you know what? Don't be too worried about whether you're making the right decision or not. If you've made it and you've made it for a reason that you can live with, you made the right call. Even if it doesn't work out, it makes it more interesting. I mean, I've always thought my life should be a book, and you know, I don't want people to be bored on chapter 1, firstly. And secondly, nothing is wasted as long as you're learning and growing. And yeah, change something about your life every 10 years. You know, we're also not the same people we are like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You change, you evolve. So too will your career. And we live in a different time now where you have to work for one company for the rest of your life. You know, and buy the house and the Labrador and all that. There are so many other options and exciting opportunities out there that, you know, and people can be creative now. So don't let stuff hold you back. Like, take a chance. We don't even know what careers will be out there in 5 years' time. You know, maybe AI will take over and we'll be sipping margaritas. I don't know.
That sounds like a wonderful career.
No, but either way, do it because you want to do it.
Yeah. So Rita, the questions are coming very, very fast now. Before I get to the one from Lebo, there is another one that I received from Natasha relating to what you were saying about giving the advice to your younger self. She would like to know, what is the most important lesson that you have learned through your career so far? You can put it at 2 or 3 lessons.
I think the biggest thing is don't let anybody else tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're a man or a woman or a whatever, nobody gets to define you and tell you what your boundaries are. You get to do that, and you put your own limits on there. So really, only try and improve yourself, because that's all we have control over. So I think the biggest lesson I've learned is, because I'm a bit of a control freak, yeah. So you know, it's trying to control those things that I can control and let go of the things that I can't. And just focus on that, because that's really, otherwise you'll go a little bit cuckoo, and not in a good way. So that's my biggest lesson. And also to be open to things, really be curious. It's more interesting.
Yeah. So Level has another question. I'm going to show it on stage and I'll read it out for you again. Leba would like to know, what can we expect in interviews for project management roles or internships? So how do you interview?
Okay, so this will also very much depend on the specialized field, but they will definitely ask you about project management procedures and methodologies. So for anybody prepping for an interview, I would definitely suggest you look at the Project Management Institute's website, join them as a member. They've got a lot of resources that help you prep for things, courses that you can do, a guideline that you can read through. So that will give you a good background in actual procedures. They will also most likely ask you a scenario question. So how will you deal with this if this should happen? So, for instance, if you're doing an IT project, your client comes back to you and says, well, we're not happy, we want to change the scope, you're halfway through, the budget's been spent, what now? What are you going to do? So be very sure about the processes in project management on who should you be getting consent from to change project scopes. The documentation is a big role, especially also prep with regards to software. Some companies will require you to use certain project management software. So download a free trial, play around with it, and learn it, even if you don't know anything about the software yet. Be curious, and please always look up the company that's interviewing you. And you're also interviewing them, so be sure it's a company that you want to work for, and ask them those hard questions.
Yeah, okay. We have an interesting one from from Peter. There's a lot of interest in what you do, Rita. He would like to know if being a project manager involves a lot of travel.
Well, I think that depends on the type of project management that you're going to be doing.
Let's speak to you specifically. Do you travel a lot for work?
Yes, so my sites that I work on in field are generally within 120-kilometer radius of my office. So yes, I go to sites once or twice every week at least. But that's not, for some people, that's not really considered far travel. So yes, I don't do international travel, unfortunately, if my boss was listening, hint, hint. But yes, no, we do travel, but now since COVID, a lot of meetings and things are more over Zoom, even though I do prefer face-to-face.
Yeah. So I'm curious, obviously COVID, everything's going online, but you mentioned your stakeholders, and some of your stakeholders are landowners. Do you find some sort of challenge in that sense?
What, with regards to COVID or
meeting them?
Oh, yes. No, well, luckily most of the landowners that I meet with are farmers. So they were quite exempt from a lot of the COVID regulations. And to be honest, they just carried on as usual. And luckily we were outdoors mostly. The trick with landowners or the farmers that we work with, obviously their schedules are quite intense. So if it's harvest season or planting season, it's quite difficult to get hold of them. So you really have to, if you need to meet them at 6 a.m, then you meet them at 6 a.m.
Fair enough. Rita, I would love to keep you here and ask you 100 more questions. Unfortunately, our time is running out. There are quite a few questions still within our audience. If you have more questions you'd like to reach out to Rita, please reach out to the Gradlinc team and we will connect you to her. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you so much. This has been so fantastic. We have thoroughly enjoyed ourselves and we wish you the very best for your future as a project manager.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun and I'll be back anytime. And please, if anybody wants to pop in and come have a coffee and chat to me about anything, I'm here.
That's fantastic. Bye, everyone.
Good luck.